I would often go there to the tiny church there. The smallest church.
You can hardly start an analysis about Disco Elysium without saying that the game is a masterpiece. With a setting that shies away from the typical ones, with a predefined character instead of creating one from scratch, and based on a customized RPG system, Sound's developers were able to create one of the most memorable experiences of the last years. With a narrative that explored the deepness of topics like politics, human psychology, and addiction, it is easy to forget that all of it is supported on the game system. Hi, my name is Gabriel Chauri, and this is Game Design Thinking. In this video, we will explore what constitutes an RPG system and why Disco Elysium's one is so elegant, so deep, and at the same time so difficult to replicate. As always, you can download a one-page summary to complement the information on this video. Let's roll the dice and prepare for many skill checks. RPGs have had a huge influence in other genres, and over the years, many variations have been created, but core pillars of the genre remain the same. A compelling and believable setting, mostly based on hard world building. That's why some fantasy worlds like Lord of the Rings or Star Wars have been successfully ported to RPGs. A character creation system that defines how the player will interact with the game world, thus including a fair amount of customization from the get-go, with the potential risk of messing up the experience from the start. And finally, a sense of player agency that is practically unmatched by other genres. This final component could well be its own video essay, so if you're interested, let me know in the comments. The robustness these features provide is critical to understand why you can see RPG elements on almost any AAA game, ranging from first-person shooters all the way to sports games. But while RPG features have been used in other genres, most RPG systems have remained almost unchanged over the years, even sharing many similarities between them. To be on the same page, a RPG system is a set of mechanics that are used to determine the outcome of a character's in-game actions. They are the parameters and the connections between the parts of the game. Thus, the system's influence starts from the character creation phase and goes all the way to interacting with the environment and completing quests. There are a lot of RPG systems. There are some that have evolved over time or that have been created with a specific setting in mind, like Dungeons & Dragons or Pathfinder. Others are focused on psychological terror like Call of Cthulhu, or more versatile systems like Fate. A common element between all of them is that they determine characters' progression based on players' decisions in the game. Players will try to optimize the fun by mastering the system and overcoming the challenges as fast as they can to increase their choices, both in quantity and quality. Now, on Disco Elysium. If you have missed it, I will highly recommend that after this video you go buy the game and play it right away. It is an amazing experience through and through if you are a fan of RPGs, detective stories, and meaningful games. I will try not to make major spoilers about the plot of the game, but just because I am analyzing the systems, some of the inner workings and story points of the game must be mentioned, so you are warned. In Disco Elysium, you embody a police detective that wakes up without memory after a huge meltdown, combined with large doses of alcohol and probably other illegal substances. So, you are trying to solve a murder while also trying to get the character's memories back. One thing that stands out, especially compared to other RPG games, is the absence of combat and grinding. All quests are obtained and completed by talking and doing some actions using the conversation panel. Other than that, What sets apart Disco Elysium from other RPG games, and why the system can support such a vast and complex narrative? The character's sheet is composed of 4 attributes: intellect, psyche, physicality, and motorics, each with 6 skills depending on them. The selection of attributes at the start of the game largely defines the playstyle, because it sets the base value for each skill as well as the skill cap value. Skills, on the other hand, are the main interactive element on the game system. They represent different aspects of the human mind and behavior, like rhetoric, volition, shivers, and hand-eye coordination. The main use of these skills is to compare them against a value on a skill check that can be divided into active and passive ones. As I said before, conversation is the main way to advance in the game and both receive and solve tasks in order to increase XP and receive skill points. During conversations, player can try an active skill check using as a base their skill level plus 2 6-sided dice. There are red skill checks that can't be retried, and white ones that can be retried if the player increases the relevant skill. Moreover, the player can check where and if they can retry a skill check, an amazing piece of design that uses UX elements such as error recovery, feedback, clarity, and flexibility, all while decreasing memory overload. It entices players to try, fail, and try again, while also reducing the cognitive load on the player's side to decide where to put a skill. Most players will choose to increase a skill relevant to a fail-wide skill check. Additionally, skills themselves will passively do skill checks in some parts of the conversation. If it's successful, skills will interrupt the character trying to lead him and the player to make one or another decision, also opening new dialogue options and active skill checks. One remarkable feature of passive skill checks is that the higher the skills level, the more different skills will interrupt the character, often contradicting themselves. There is even a section in which, unsuccessfully completing a skill check, your volition skill will point out that the other skills are compromised because your character is sexually attracted to the person you are interrogating. It is a way to show that the more the character knows himself again, the more chaotic and melted down his mind becomes again. The final element of progression is the thought cabinet. As lead game designer Robert Kurbitz described, thoughts are effective loot drops that can be equipped and researched to earn different bonuses, like increasing skill caps, unlocking new dialogue options, and more, also applying bonuses or penalties while being researched. This system adds a few drops of uncertainty to the whole system, because the effective bonus of the thought isn't known to the player until it is effectively researched, unlike items where you can see immediately the skill bonus or penalty. Again, a great UX element is that players can discard thoughts using skill points and equip another one in its place. Now, comparing the RPG system of Disco Elysium to other RPG games, a crucial difference is that it was created very much for the narrative and the character. There are skills like Spirit the Corpse that reveal police jargon and intelligence to the character, thus to the player. Another important difference is in the way that the different parts are connected. The main reinforcing loop consists on the player receiving tasks for talking to people and exploring. More tasks equal more XP, thus higher skill level. The main balancing feedback loop, namely the opposition to the player, comes not from more powerful enemies or having to gather more XP with each level, but from the skills themselves. As the skills level get higher, they will interrupt more frequently, and they can deceive players to take inconvenient routes that can make the character lose morale, life, or just losing a dialogue path for listening to the advice of one of the skills. Also, the same skills will put the character in different kind of troubles if the player accepts the thoughts and carries them out. A RPG system like Dungeons & Dragons have a similar reinforcing feedback loop in which players engage in quests to acquire more XP and increase the character's attributes and skills. One crucial difference though is that as the game progresses, the character becomes more powerful, therefore enemies need to be balanced accordingly. Usually, both video game systems and game masters tend to balance the enemy level to the character's one, generating interesting but potentially predictable battles. Also, this requires a huge amount of balance that can't quite consider all playstyles and characters' races, classes, and more features of the game. In Disco Elysium, an important part of the balance comes from the players themselves, as players can fail and retry white checks with virtually no penalty. Players can decide which skill they want to level up depending on the white checks that they want to retry. If your level is too low for a specific skill check, you can increase the relevant skill by doing other tasks and then come back again, or even take a chance even if it's 3%. Why not? So, while players are making the character more powerful, they also allow their skills to put them in difficult situations, thus hampering their advance, like calling your ex and cry and lose lives. Ouch. In summary, Disco Elysium is one of those games that came to take a genre from its foundation. There is still a lot to explore, but Disco Elysium proved that RPG systems can work without combat, instead focusing on internal opposition. That the entirety of the balance doesn't need to be top-down, but can be generated from the bottom up, the player's decisions, and a compelling system mixed with good UX practices. And that RPGs can work with a predefined character with strong background and still allow players to have agency over the future of the character and the world. The fact that the opposition comes from a delayed section of the reinforcing loop makes the game system more elegant, thus easier for players to understand and interact with. Disco Elysium system makes us remember that RPGs are not just about progression or more powerful enemies. RPGs are about actually role-playing, with a compelling system that supports skills and dialogues that give players the space to do it. Thanks for watching. I hope you had many successful skill checks watching the video. Listen to your Inland Empire and give the video a thumbs up, subscribe and activate the bell. You can also check my Instagram and Discord so you don't lose any new videos, posts and information. Have a nice day and don't use any substances to increase your stats. It can damage your health and morale. Goodbye, fellow game designer.